Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to jump into the Dungeon Master's Guide and look at 2 magical brooms. I love magical brooms. They're so much fun. The first one is a cursed item, and that is the Broom of Animated Attack. It's this guy right here. Indistinguishable from a normal broom, except by means of detection of its magic, it's completely identical to a Broom of Flying by all tests and attempted use. The Broom of Animated Attack is a very nasty item. If a command word, fly, soar, etc., is spoken, the broom will do a loop and then would take its hopeful rider up and dump him or her off onto the back of their head from 6 to 9 feet off the ground. The broom will then attack the stunned victim, swatting the face with the straw twig end to blind and beating them with the bald-headed end, the handle. Each such attack takes place twice per round. The attacks as if it were a 4 hit dice monster. The straw end will cause blindness for 1 round if it hits. The other end causes 1 to 3 points of damage when it hits. The broom is armor class 7 and takes 18 hit points to destroy. One of my more favored magic or cursed magic items. I will put this one in periodically, simply because it's got definitive limits. It's not something you're going to be carrying around a -1 sword you got to get a remove curse for or anything like that. It's simply going to dump you on the back of your head and then fly down and beat you about the head and neck with the handle and the broom itself. So I thought that was kind of neat. It's only armor class 7, 18 hit points to destroy. So I will put that in periodically. It's a fun one. And then the broom they hoped it was is the one directly below it. It's the Broom of Flying. This magical broom is able to fly through the air at up to 30-inch movement rate. That's fast. The broom can carry 182 pounds at this rate. That's oddly specific. But every 14 additional pounds slows movement by 1 inch. Also oddly specific. The device can climb or dive about 30 degrees. The command word must be used, the word to be determined by you, the DM, as desired. The broom will travel alone to any destination named. It will come up to 30 feet of it, within 30 feet of its owner when he or she speaks the command word. 30 inches of the owner when the owner speaks the command word. So this is interesting. We had a little debate on that. I'll go over everything here. So basically, you can fly carrying 182 pounds, which is, that had to be the weight that somebody determined their character had when this was first crafted. And then every 14 pounds after that slows it by 1 inch movement. So if I'm 28 pounds over the limit, then the broom's only going to fly 28 inches. It can climb or dive at about 30 degrees, which is pretty steep. Command word must be used. The word be determined when you get the broom. And the broom will travel alone to any destination named. It will come up to 300 feet of its owner, and when he or she speaks the command word. Now, 2 things on that. The broom will travel alone to any destination named. Does that mean you could send it from, if you're in the Bright Desert, could you send it all the way back to Greyhawk? The book doesn't say. It just says it will go to any destination named. So I do allow it. It takes time, but it can get there. And then the other question is, when you speak the command word and it will come within 300 feet of the owner, does that mean it had to have been near enough to, quote, hear the command word, unquote? Or can the broom itself be 200 miles away? You say, Quidditch as your command word, and does the broom start on that way? And that's something that needs to be thrashed out when the broom is given. I've actually given the broom both ways. I've given the broom to be summonable basically from right near you, so the player could have it leaning against the wall, and he could call the broom to him, and then he could take off and fly on it. And then the other way was he could leave the broom at home and then call it at need. I've used it both ways, and it doesn't make a ton of difference. What makes a difference is having the broom. This is going to give you unlimited flight, and you can overload this thing by quite a bit and still fly it. 14 pounds, you will only slow it 10 feet for every incremental 14 pounds. So if I put 140 extra pounds on there, another person, it's still going to move at 20 inches. So you can, in theory, fly with multiple people on the broom. It's a great way for players to get across a chasm. They can just be ferried across 1 at a time, or 2 at a time on the bluff. So the owner of the broom would ferry everybody over, and then he would be the last one to go. It's just an interesting device. I had a player character years and years ago. A friend of mine, he ran a character based on Clint Eastwood. It was a ranger he named Clintock of Eastwood, and looked like Clint Eastwood from the old spaghetti westerns in the 60s. And old Clintock had a broom of flying, and he could go pretty much wherever we want it on the broom. It has no limit as far as how long it flies. But I said there is a comfort practicality limit. You're riding on a stick. There's going to come a point where you really can't feel your legs. You've got to stop riding on the stick, depending on how you're riding it. Well, he took that to heart, and he had a special padded saddle made up for his broom of flying. And he spent a great deal of money on it, and had a leather crafter craft this whole thing up, and then went to a saddle maker and had it attached to the broom and everything. And I was so pleased that he bothered getting around my restriction that much that I just said, yeah, okay, cool. The saddle works. You can fly it almost as long as you want. Or, after many hours, you're going to have to dismount. But I'm going to let you fly it longer than I did without the saddle. I was just so happy that a player was actually so invested in his magic item and his character that he went out of his way to fix it from what I had said would happen with it. So that was a good thing. So Broom of Flying, be careful when you give these out. These are higher level magic items. In my opinion, I wouldn't really give one out until 8th or higher. And even then, it would depend on the campaign. I have a campaign right now that's running something like 7th to 10th, and I would not give a Broom of Flying to that particular group right now. It just wouldn't fit the group. So you've got to be very careful with your discretion on these, but it's a great magic item to give. Broom of Animated Attack is great for the DM to have a couple of chuckles at the player's expense. Players mostly take that very well because they get instant revenge on the broom. They smash it to bits with armor class 7 and 18 hit points. So they get their revenge and everybody has a good chuckle, and usually we're fine. But that's it. That's all I've got to say on my 2 magic brooms today out of the Dungeon Master's Guide. Please leave comments below, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. And I'll see you next time on page 121.